Hey everybody, this is Matthew Kemshaw at the Edward Milton Community School Garden. Just wanted to make a quick video of potato planting. We're going to plant a row of potatoes here, just in line with our drip irrigation. We've got drip tape that's going to go on here, so I'm going to plant one row of potatoes to cover one long line of drip tape, and I wanted to demonstrate how to do it. So when we plant potatoes, we actually plant them deep down in the soil below the surface soil level and build kind of a trench. So we're going to dig down and plant the potatoes at the bottom of the trench. And the reason we do that is because wherever you plant your tuber, your original potato, the tubers that grow off of that, the potatoes that we're going to eat, they tend to grow above the level of wherever you planted that potato. So if we get that potato further down in the garden, the potato plant is going to grow up, and then as it grows, we'll slowly heap soil on top of it, leaving a couple leaves exposed, but that will encourage more potatoes to grow at the level above the original tuber. So I'll keep explaining as we go, but the first step to planting potatoes is to make that trench, which I'm going to do right now. So I want to try to get a trench that's about 12, even 18 inches deep for these potatoes to start out in. So I'm just turning the soil and trying to make a mound of soil directly beside where the potatoes are going to go. So there you can see I've got my trench that I'm going to place the potatoes in, and just along the side of the trench is a mound of soil. And what's going to happen is we're going to place these potatoes in the trench and they'll grow up, and then as they grow we're actually going to pull this mound of soil back onto the potatoes, and so eventually we'll have a mound here with the potato plant growing on top of it, and in that mound there's going to be lots and lots of potatoes that have all grown above the level of that original tuber that we planted. So the next step for me is to grab my potatoes. We've got sort of a mixed bag of potatoes from Mr. Gale's collection here, and they're starting to sprout. These are small seed potatoes, so I'm just going to plant one seed potato per place. We've got lots of potatoes here, so I'm not worried about conserving them. But if you have a bit bigger potato, you can actually cut them with a knife, as long as you've got a couple of eyes on the potato, a couple places where they're gonna sprout. You can cut them and plant the pieces of the potato so that you don't have to plant just one tuber. Most seed potatoes are smaller and sort of meant to be just planted, just the one of them. So I'm gonna plant these potatoes just about 1 foot apart, and I'm actually digging down into this trench a little bit to plant my potatoes. I want to get them down as deep as I can so that we've got as much space above to grow really nice, big, productive potato plants. So I'll just go along here and continue planting these, about one every foot or so. And once I've got them in the ground, I'm just going to cover them up just a little bit, just trying to get about 1 inch of soil on top of those potatoes. This one here I just noticed looks like it's got a bit of it's like it's dying. It almost looks diseased or something, and I don't want to plant a potato that looks like that. I don't know if you can see it from there, so I'm going to discard this one and put another potato where it was in its place. There we go. That one looks better. So I'll cover these potatoes up, just trying to cover them up about 1 inch deep with soil. And then I'm going to add just a small amount of this complete organic fertilizer. I'm just going to dust this using probably in total about 1 cup of fertilizer for this trench, maybe 1.5 cups, just to give the potatoes a little bit of extra nutrition. This is a complete organic fertilizer made with seed meal, kelp meal, and rock phosphate. It's just a really simple, basic organic fertilizer. And then I've also got some compost over here. So this is just some screened compost that I'm also going to add to this trench, just to give these potatoes a little bit of an extra bit of nutrition and really nice soil to start growing into. So I'll just do a couple of shovelfuls of that, maybe 3 shovelfuls, because we've got quite a bit of compost here. And I'm just going to kind of mix that all up, make sure that it's nice and even in my trench. And the last thing I'm going to do is just water these potatoes. So the water sort of sends the message to the tuber to get growing. If it's got lots of water and the right temperature, these tubers, the potatoes, are going to jump up out of the ground and start to grow. And like I said, as they do, once they've got a few leaves on them, we're going to start backfilling this soil on top of them to ensure more tubers grow above the level of where these ones were planted. And eventually what we'll have is sort of the opposite of what's here now. This will actually be a trench down into the soil, and we'll have a big mound here above these potato plants and a big green potato plant growing on top of that mound. When you're backfilling the potatoes, the only thing to keep in mind is just make sure you don't completely cover the plant. You can actually kill it if you completely stop its ability to photosynthesize. Make sure it's got at least 2 leaves growing above the level of that soil so that it can continue to photosynthesize and grow. Potatoes are in the nightshade family along with tomatoes, and the nightshades have this great capacity to be able to grow roots out of their stems. So if you cover up the stems of the nightshades, they are quite happy to grow roots out of that stem to transform from being an above ground part of the plant to a below ground part of the plant. Some plants, if you cover them up like that, will actually just rot and die, but with potatoes, this is the way we grow them, and the best way to get lots of potatoes, because like I said, the tubers produce most above the level of where you plant that original tuber. So the more we can mound on top, the more potatoes we're going to get in the end. So that's a quick and dirty video on how to plant potatoes. Hope everybody's doing well, and happy planting!